Welcome, Therese. How are you?
Doing great. I mean, it's been really interesting process deep diving into some of this because it really does shine the light without being silly. It really does
Literally.
shine the light on like, okay, there is a path forward, and it's definitely a path where we take more and more responsibility as we move forward with food. Now, this is something I know you talk about all the time in your business. You're always guiding people on, how to take the power back or control back when it comes to what goes into the body. Um, but I have to say, this conversation started for me when I was telling you that I had started shopping at Trader Joe's again. It was like I started shopping there, I don't know, earlier this year. And I went back and I remember I was looking at labels at things and I kept finding canola oil in everything. I was like, why are they putting freaking canola oil in everything? And I mentioned it to you and you were like, oh yeah. And then you went into the breakdown of seed oils. And like in my mind, before this point, seed oils really existed in deep fried foods. I was like, as long as I avoid eating
Yeah.
a bunch of fried food, I'm good, right?
Yeah,
Right?
totally. No, no.
No. No. So then, as you've been talking about it, and we've been looking into things together, it's been pretty clear that this one is a bigger monster than I think most people know about.
Yeah. And it's sneaky. It's sneaky because it's little bits of it in everything, just like the plastics or the little bits of sugars in all the quote unquote health foods. And I think it's so innocent because even for me, like as I was overcoming emotional eating and working on my gut and hormone health and reducing inflammation and changing the way I ate, I was like, oh, I found gluten-free whatever, and this is a better alternative than this shitty Oreo brand. Or I found like this chip brand that only has salt, potatoes, and sunflower oil. And sunflower oil has to be better than vegetable oil, right?
Right.
So this is a better alternative. And I'm eating these things and getting puffier and puffier and puffier, retaining more and more water. And I'm going, well, what the heck? It's a better option. Why is my body responding like this? And then come to discover that seed oils are very inflammatory and fuel inflammation in our bodies, hence all the puffiness that just builds up, 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 up.
Can I share with you as you're
Yeah.
talking? I'm just remembering. I don't know if you ever saw these commercials because we're a little bit different in age, but I want to say it was the early 90s or maybe even the mid 90s, but they were doing ads for canola oil and talking about this like it's like a miracle. This
Yeah.
oil was so healthy, so good for you, and so it was like, ew, vegetable oil. No, let's use canola oil because this is, I mean, I can remember the TV ads for that.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. No surprise.
right. And this is just, and it's in everything.
It's in
Um,
everything,
which
like
is,
ice cream, even,
yeah,
and like
salad dressing.
salad dressings, big time. Mayonnaises, right?
Yeah, I
Dried
was finding,
fruit, like snacks and trail mixes, nuts, dried nuts, right?
you said ice cream.
Ice
I found
cream.
it in like, I was getting like a Thai chili sauce, just like a, you think, and I was like, there's no way there's oil in this. Yeah, canola oil right there. Cereal, dry cereal
Yeah.
in that. I'm like,
Yeah.
what? I'm just looking at this and I'm like, how does it, like, you wouldn't even suspect it's made with an oil. I mean, I guess if I think about it, it's like, what's the binder? Like, what holds it, makes it
Yeah.
hold its shape? But you're not, as a consumer, you're not thinking like that. You're kind of thinking, what's the obvious place it would be? And I'll switch it out. I won't do canola oil. I'll
Yeah.
do olive oil, or I'll do ghee, or I'll do something like that,
Yeah.
or coconut oil.
Totally.
And you're thinking, I'm doing great and I've avoided it. I was just listening to a doctor talking about it, and he was saying the average person has 46 times the amount of omega 6s, which are the seed oils, in their body than they should have. Like
Yep.
46 times.
Yep. Yeah. And that's because it's hidden in all these food products that we're consuming, whether they're a healthier brand or not, right? Because they're obviously like shoveling it full in all your mainstream products as well, right? So, and this is an interesting thing that I want to share about, but omega-6, like we need a little bit of it, but we are over consuming it obviously by a lot by what you just shared. And
Yeah.
arachidonic acid is an inflammatory omega-6 fatty acid. So what happens is our bodies produce the nutrient, but in excess, by us consuming too much omega-6, we then have this buildup of arachidonic acid, and that can trigger inflammation in the brain, in the body, higher like inflammatory levels of in the blood, and that can impact the mood, right? And inflammation suppresses our dopamine levels. So we can start to see this like domino effect, right? Of then how this is lowering your dopamine, and then you're chasing more dopamine boosting behaviors like binging, porn, video games, mindless numbing with TV, whatever it is. And you may not even realize it's from inflammation, suppressing your dopamine from all the seed oils you might be consuming, right? And the more inflammation we have, the more it boosts up our estrogen levels, and the estrogen dominance picture is seen more easily. So there's a big tie in between inflammation and hormones too, and thyroid issues. And
And with what I've understood about estrogen dominance is it can actually sort of step on your progesterone in women, right? Which leads to the weight gain. It leads to be like you can't get it off of your body and you don't know why. It's like you could be doing all the things that you think you're supposed to be doing, but if you're still consuming these hidden seed oils, it's like pushing that rock up a hill, right? That big boulder up the hill. It's like, why can't I get this to move?
Pretty much.
What I just wanted to share that one of the things that doctor had said was that when we do consume omega-6, we're supposed to get it in a 1-to-1 ratio with omega-3.
Yes.
And in that way, they sort of bind together and they don't create the acid you were talking about in the body.
Yeah.
But that's not happening. I think people are maybe even deficient in omega-3, right? Like we're not even getting enough of that.
Yeah. And it's because omega-3, right? So omega-6 is going to be in your roasted salted nuts, all your chips, a lot of the nut butters, all of the other products we talked about. Omega-3 is not infused into products. So you're going to have to buy foods rich in omega-3, like hemp seeds, walnuts, fatty fish, avocados. So it's a lot of the anti-inflammatory foods, and they don't want you eating a lot of anti-inflammatory foods. That's why you don't see any big like hemp seed companies sponsoring the Olympics or whatever it is, because they don't want you consuming these anti-inflammatory foods that are going to help you get healthier.
Which is kind of the antidote, right? Because then it's, we already know that the medical industry, the pharmaceutical industry, and the food industry have this kind of dirty handshake behind the back.
Yes.
Where one is sort of guaranteeing customers for the other. So, that it doesn't really serve them to inform us that all we have to do is make some dietary adjustments and feel healthier. Rather, it's like, no, you need Ozempic, or you need, you need this product or this product, which just is a vicious cycle chain reaction. I mean, if you're watching TV and one of those pharmaceutical commercials comes on, you're like, you hear all the things like liver failure, possibility of death, like you're hearing all these
depression.
Things,
it's just like, oh my gosh,
sort of is a chain reaction. But getting back to what you had said about where the healthy omega-3s live, I think one of them, is olive oil. And you were telling me a story about olive oil. So here's the thing. Let's say you're like, okay, great. I know that there's crap in some stuff. So I've got my eyes out. I'm looking for soybean oil. I'm looking for canola oil. Those are two of the major ones that seem to get used a lot, but safflower oil, sunflower oil. I'm looking for this. So I'm going to buy the healthy version. And Amber's telling me this story, and it's nuts. So you're buying olive oil, and what's happening?
Yeah. So I have a local brand of olive oil that I like to buy. However, they were out of stock. So I subbed for another olive oil in a glass bottle. I'm like, it's olive oil, it's fine. And like we were talking about, like, I'm very in tune with my body. My body is a very great sounding board. And if there's something in something that shouldn't be, she will tell me right away and I'll get puffy. Yeah. So I'm eating my salad with my olive oil and I'm getting puffy and warm. And I'm like, what the heck? This is olive oil. Everything else the same. I'm calm. I'm not stressed. Like, why am I having this reaction? And then I started to do some research, as well as, of course, divinely, the universe planted some reels on my Instagram talking about how they will blend and lace other inflammatory cheap oils like cottonseed oil, soybean oil, canola oil into olive oil and avocado oil brands, right? Because it makes it cheaper. And obviously because it fuels inflammation, there's some sneaky hidden agendas there. And I was like, holy crap, I guarantee you that olive oil brand that I bought had laced X whatever other oil it was, because those oils give me puffiness and inflammation. My cashew butter that I was using in my homemade ice cream this past week, because I had to get a different brand and I didn't even check the label. I'm like, it's just cashews. It's a good brand. Sunflower oil. So I'm eating the ice cream. The next morning I wake up so puffy and I'm like, why am I so puffy? I check the jar. There's freaking sunflower oil in this. It's supposed to just be cashews. I'm like, I'll just make my own cashew butter. No wonder I'm so puffy. It's literally in everything, and it's hidden, and it's fueling all this inflammation. So you may be buying an olive oil or an avocado oil that has it, and you might be like, well, how do I know?
Right.
Honestly,
how do we know?
Your best bet is to source the most local brand you can. The bigger the brand, the more the red flag, in my opinion. Right.
Yeah. I mean, it makes me want to go check the ones I got from Trader Joe's.
It doesn't say on the label. It just says olive oil.
And it'll say organic, and and virgin, cold press, all of that stuff. It says all the things you want to hear, but they don't have to disclose that they're cutting it with that. So it's like, this is one of those situations where I call it the pay now or pay later deal when it comes to food. So local is great. And if you can't find local, then you want to look for expensive, because the more expensive and meets all those other things, probably safer than the cheaper organic cold pressed virgin version. You know what I mean? If you have the choices. And I know that sucks. It's like you feel it, and you feel angry that you feel like you're getting cheated out of something, but it's like they're going to get you to pay either way. Either you pay up front and you get the healthier version of things, or you pay later. Yeah. And that payment, actually, it's kind of like debt. There's interest added to it, and the interest is poor health. Yeah, unfortunately. So, wow. So one of the things I learned, because I'm in love with castor oil. I talk about it all the time between us. I'm like, I'm putting it everywhere. And one of the things that the castor oil brand I use, which is called Queen of Thrones, and it's a great brand. I'm not an affiliate. I just really am in love with this. So it comes in a dark glass bottle. It's organic, and it says hexane free. And everyone's like, make sure it says that. I didn't know why that was important until I started doing research about seed oils. So the way that they extract the oil from these seeds is with a product called hexane. Hexane is a solvent that allows them to pull the oil from the seed. So again, if these were in their whole form, like I'm sure I don't know, actually, let me ask Amber. Sunflower seeds, if you were to consume them whole with the shell and everything, is that safer than sunflower oil?
100%. Because it's not been processed, it's not been heated. Because it's the other problem. When they process and all of these to a high heat to extract the oil, that high heat is destroying the delicacy of the oil and making it more inflammatory also, let alone the hexane.
So first, you've got it in its natural form. And the way that Source has created things is that it will, if you eat it in its whole form, just like if you were to eat fruit in its whole form versus fructose syrup, which is extracted with fruit. Right, exactly. When you eat the whole fruit, it has things in it that counterbalance, that slow down the glycemic process, that make it so your body can easily absorb it without you getting a massive sugar spike, right? Well, it's the same with these seeds. In their whole form, they're probably safe and effective for the body, but because they go through this heating process, like you're saying, and the hexane, one of the things that they don't know is how much of the hexane is still on the oil or in the oil after they've used the solvent to extract it and then heated it up. They don't know. They actually don't know. Yeah. So, I mean, I haven't looked up like what hexane would do to the body, but based on the conversation we're having about seed oils in and of themselves, we know it's not good. We know it's not.
That word just feels very like, yikes. You know what I
Yeah. I
mean?
mean, just the word solvent sounds horrible. When I think of solvents, I think of paint thinners. I think of things that are stripping, right? They're going to
Yeah.
strip and pull stuff out. And one of the things we know about the seed oils is not only are they creating this inflammation, they're actually oil itself pulls
Yeah.
things out. So like I was telling Amber, I do coconut oil pulling in my mouth because it actually pulls like bacteria and bad stuff out of the mouth, and it helps keep your mouth really clean. And then I'm hearing this person talking about how these seed oils are pulling nutrients
Yeah.
out of the body. So not only that, but I've learned that unlike sugars, which, sugar is bad, the over consuming sugar, not a good thing, right? Leads to bad things. But sugars, he was saying, can be burned off in the body. Whereas the seed oils, they don't leave. They
Yeah.
kind of they sit in our organs, they sit in our bloodstream, I'm guessing too. I mean,
Yeah.
they're not leaving.
No, no.
So it's a
And
buildup.
it is a buildup, it's an accumulation. And then that's why we see this depressed thyroids and the high estrogens and the heavy inflammation and the easy weight gain and the brain fog and the low dopamine and just the mood and all these things accumulating because it's a slow build, it's a slow infiltration, right? So seed oils, make sure you're flipping your packages and products over and looking at the ingredient label. And you might be going, well, what are seed oils? So like canola oil, sunflower oil, safflower oil, cottonseed oil, right? To me, I know peanuts aren't a seed, but peanut oil is super inflammatory, vegetable oil is super inflammatory. Those aren't seed oils, but they're very,
They're
very
actually,
processed and inflammatory.
so I did some research, and there's a group called the Seed Oil Rebellion, and they
Cool.
focus on seed oil specifically, and they do a lot of talks about it. So I wanted to share with you, they actually have two different lists, and it's kind of like the Dirty Dozen with fruits and
Love
vegetables.
it.
They've got the good list, which is called the Simple Six. So these are the 6 oils that they would recommend that people have in their diet. Like, you don't really need anything other than these, and that's beef tallow, ghee, butter, avocado oil, olive oil, and coconut oil
Yep.
are the 6. But then they have the other group, which is called the evil 8. So these are the ones to avoid at all costs. And they include, like what Amber's saying, canola, soy, rice bran, which I don't even know if I knew that was an oil, but rice bran oil, grapeseed, corn, safflower, sunflower, and cottonseed oils. And these are the ones to avoid at all costs.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that list. That's really important for people. And that's what you're going to see in a lot of the products. And this is why it's so important to read your labels so that right? And I
Right.
know it can feel like a pain in the butt to go, it's in everything, but get in the kitchen, make a little bit of your own. It's just again, you're investing in a longer lifespan, less health issues. It's worth putting in a little bit more time to find recipes and make some of these products yourself, or to spend a bit more money on a better product.
Do you know, I even learned that the seed oils make you hungrier. They make you hungry. We talked about
Yeah,
how they
makes
make you
sense.
fatter.
Inflammation and
Yeah,
insulin and appetite levels. Yeah.
they make you fatter. And they also contribute to sunburns, which I've heard this, and I don't quite
Yes.
know how it works, but it's like the
I heard
receptors
that
that are
too.
supposed to be sensing the sun. So our skin actually, I remember hearing about this when we were kind of sharing information back and forth, right? So they were, I think it was Barbara O'Neill was talking about it, about how the eyes, like wearing sunglasses for
Mm-hmm.
too long, actually can create sunburns. And at first you're like, what? How does that connect? But the eyes have receptors in it that tell the skin how hot the sun is, and the
Right.
skin has a beautiful system of like a sort of like a shield that it creates under the surface that sort of protects the dermis. So it's your eyes measure how
Mm-hmm.
hot it's going to be, which then the dermis reacts and creates protection. So there must be something in seed oils that sort of interrupt this process, or make it so the little receptors in the dermis aren't fully closing.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to do some more digging and break that down, but it makes sense. And I've heard that before as well, that it's the seed oils contributing to sunburns and all that kind of thing. So there's many things. So read your labels, check your labels, start tuning into your body. Do you notice you feel less puffy and inflamed, less pain, right? Less heat, swelling, redness as you reduce the intake of these? And do you notice if you eat it that you get more? Like, you start to build awareness and become more in tune with your body, because it's going to help you, along with reading the labels. So should we get into some questions?
Yeah, we should definitely get into some questions. One other thing I wanted to share with you, I just learned, I haven't had a chance to look it up, but there are actually people who are part of this seed oil rebellion who are trying to help you, the consumer, have an easier time finding food that is more aligned with your health. And because restaurants are actually one of the hardest places to avoid
full
seed
of
oil.
seed oils because it's cheap.
Right. And we won't even talk about fast food because you can just kind of guess that it's like, it's all over that.
Yeah.
So there's really nothing to consume there, but it's more like when you're going out to certain restaurants, they're probably using soybean oil in their fryers or canola oil.
Well, even just
so
in
they're
cooking the vegetables and stuff, they're using canola oil and cheap oils, right?
Yeah. And so there are people out there who are trying to construct apps to help you find healthy alternatives or know where to go, where you're less likely to run into this information. And I know there's a couple out there, but one that kind of stuck that I remembered is called Shire. So just like Lord of the Rings and the Shire. So that's Shire, the Shire app. So if you look at that one, that's supposed to help you.
I'm gonna check that out.
I know, I got to check it out too, but that's supposed to help you determine, I don't know, safe foods or safe restaurants. We have to look into it and we'll let you know what we find.
Yes.
But so there's resources being made. So that's the good news. It's like we just told you all the shitty news, but here's the good news.
It's important to be honest.
The good news is that people are aware. They're fighting back, and we have so much power as consumers. We talk about this all the time, but the more that we're voting with our money that we don't want this and those things stop selling, they will adjust, right? The market always adjusts to the consumer because the consumer is the one that actually drives the market. It's not the company, it's us. So if we're like, crap, I don't want this crap, and we're either getting the versions that are free of that and that's going to be tracked and seen, or we stop buying it completely and start making our own, that's also going to be tracked and seen. And usually the market responds to the consumer. So I feel good about knowing that, yes, it's, this is where we're at on a spiritual level as well. It looks really dark, right? All the stuff we're talking about looks dark. It's like, oh my God, look what they've done. Look what they've done. It's so dark. But the fact that we're having these conversations, the fact that there's so much awareness, the fact that people are taking their power back and making different choices actually shows that we are, again, ascending. We are going higher.
For sure.
We're so even though these conversations that we have sometimes sounds like gloom and doom, it's actually not. It's awareness. And usually with any kind of awareness, whether it's awareness of what's going on in yourself or what's going on in the world, there is that sort of shock factor of, oh my God, but the beautiful thing about awareness is it gives us choice. And with that comes power.
Exactly. And that is everything, and sovereignty and voting with our dollars. And you learn so much and you heal, and there's so much power in, yes, it sucks when you first find out and you see how it's impacting your body, but then you get to take your power back. So
absolutely.
I'm excited. Shire, make sure you go check that out.
Yeah, I cannot wait to take a look at that.
So first question, I just want to make sure I'm asking it properly. Okay, so is it that this is just about money, that it's because it's cheap to put these oils and things, and these big companies are saving money, restaurants are saving money, or is there another reason for the seed oil agenda?
All right, let me ask the team. Oh, come on, guys.
This is
Sometimes they just really like me to shuffle it up, you know?
Yeah, totally.
All right, here we go. Yeah, there's definitely more of a nefarious agenda going on with it, and it's mental. It has to do with the mind, so it affects the brain. It affects our mind. A mind. It also, Amber was saying this before. I don't know if you said it during this conversation, but it also affects our frequency.
Yeah.
It's meant to create a self-defeat. It's meant to make you give up.
Yeah.
Is what it's going to do, because you know how many people, and let's just look at weight, because this is something you and I both know intimately. When you are genuinely trying so hard to create change in the body, and you feel like you really are doing everything you
Yeah.
can, and then nothing changes and you have to go to some
So
extreme.
defeating.
Yeah, it's terrible. I mean, the what's interesting about the Ozempic thing, and this was our first episode, by the way. So if you're just
Yeah.
watching this for the first time, check out episode 1 where we actually deep dive into Ozempic itself. But now that it's been out long enough and been used as a weight management supplement by some people, we're getting a lot of people doing like testimonial videos on YouTube. Even if you just search Ozempic results or something in YouTube,
Yeah.
you will see a ton of videos by different people talking about how it had a really negative effect on them. They
Yeah.
had like severe anxiety. Some of them felt, suicidal ideation after taking it.
Exactly.
Or they recognized that something was off. They got off of it. All the weight came back on plus some, which is what always happens,
Yeah.
right?
Of course.
And that's all by design. It's meant to make you feel helpless, hopeless. And because when you're at that level,
Yeah.
you'll accept kind of any shiny thing
Totally. 100%.
given to you. And that's
Yeah.
what this was about. And it really is. I don't know if we know the effects of seed oils on the brain itself. But you were saying it suppresses dopamine. So we know that.
Yeah. And I think it can fuel inflammation in the brain, and inflammation in the brain is not good for mood and depression and anxiety, and obviously brain health in general. I'd be curious to know how that influences conditions like multiple sclerosis, where the myelin sheath are being attacked, and I'm sure it amplifies things like that, right? So
I bet.
I'd have to do some more looking, but yeah, it's not good.
Yeah, so there's definitely a negative agenda. Yes, the money, but if you think about how much it costs to process something versus how much it costs to grow something,
yeah,
there's quite a bit of money being spent to process. So when you really look at it, which is more cost effective, just farming as it is, or farming and processing? One's definitely more expensive. So they spend a lot of money up front that they have to reap to get it back.
Yeah.
So it's not really the money, it's what it does to the mind, because
Totally.
And then from a spiritual perspective, we're pure consciousness, which is what we perceive as our mind. So what we can know is not only is it affecting the actual brain structure itself, it's affecting our consciousness, it's lowering our vibration, it's keeping us stuck in a lower loop. And it takes a lot. We have to exert a lot more effort within ourselves to overcome it. Doesn't mean we can't, we can, but it takes a significant amount more effort to overcome that lower vibration than it does to just eat food and be in the vibration.
Exactly. And so I think hopefully this can help you maybe feel not alone, and like there isn't something wrong with you, because there's not. It is just, honestly, there's so many layers to this. And if we can shine the light on this piece, and this has maybe been a piece where you felt stuck and it helps you shift, and that's why we're here.
Yeah, absolutely.
So second question, is there a way to, transmute all this inflammation, or maybe like these seed oils are stuck in the body, to transmute this to help our bodies process it and release it?
Well,
because I definitely have eaten a lot of seed oils, not so much anymore, unless we go out to eat and I can't control it, which whatever. But if it's sitting in the body.
Yeah. So the very thing it's affecting is the thing that will save you, right? Like
Makes sense.
so
Thank goodness.
The Hierophant, and this is big. So whenever we get major arcana, it means it's more potent than what was just shown.
Right.
What was just shown to us was from the minor arcana. So we're way more powerful than what it does to us, number one. And again, this is a thinking game, right? We have to remember that no matter what they present, you're more powerful than that. Nothing can be done to you without your consent. And that's how they play the game. And so one of the things we have to remember is like, well, I didn't consent to a bunch of seed oils. I didn't consent to inflammation. Yes, we did. Not on purpose, not consciously, by accident. Why? Because we accepted convenience. We accepted, how about you make the mayonnaise and I'll buy it, right? Yeah. And in that exchange, we consented. So whatever you put in it, I'm going to buy. Yes. And it's hard to see how we gave our power away there, but that is how it was done. Incrementally, slowly, over time. You know, if we look back, what is it? 60 years even, people were making their salad dressings, right? Mostly
everything was homemade.
Everything was people were making their bread. I mean, yes, there were bakeries, of course you could, and even that was different. Way different. Yeah. And not as convenient. Supermarkets weren't a thing. You had butchers, you had bakeries, you had the produce stand, right? It was much different. And they sold us into agreeing with it through convenience, a little at a time, until we're here now where if you look at a regular supermarket, right, the only healthy things are on the edges and everything in the middle is pure crap. It's just pure crap. So again, the solution here is you have to invoke this higher power within you. This card represents inner teacher. Right. So your higher self coming through can help you. And a big part of it is rejecting it. I don't consent to this. I do not agree to this. And it is actually a vibration you offer first, then you follow it with action. You do the most aligned action. So like, for example, with the olive oil, Amber, that you found, you just kind of your internal truth detector was like, this is bullshit. Mm-hmm. What did you do once you figured that out? Well, what was your response?
I didn't use any more of it. And I went and sourced another really locally made one, and it was fine. My body responded well to it. And so I wouldn't make my own olive oil. However, if it was a mayo, right, I would make my own mayo.
Right. Or salad dressing
or whatever it is. I make a lot of our stuff homemade anyway. Right. But I would just make it myself. I don't mind spending the time because it's health, it's well-being, it's everything.
Right. When I realized that the Thai chili sauce we were getting had canola oil in it, stopped buying it, and we wanted some, and we found a recipe and we made it from scratch. Tasted so good.
Yes.
So much better. So there are small ways that we can take action, but the biggest part is to decide to uncouple from the unconscious agreement that we made, which is like, I am going to imply consent. I didn't say yes, but I didn't say no. And that's the caveat this, the darker group works with, is they're like, of course, if they told you what they were going to do, you'd say, oh, no. But if they don't have to tell you directly and they never hear you say no, they were like, well, you didn't say no. So we're implying that you agree.
Yeah. So say no, I don't consent. Look at your labels.
Right.
That's the key. Exactly. So where can everyone find you?
So if you want to hear more from me, you can go to blythestarlight.com and also visit my Blythe Starlight YouTube channel where I do weekly karma card readings, and follow me on IG, Instagram, and Pinterest as well. And Amber, where can people find you?
Yeah, so you can go to amberproof.ca if you want to talk more about inflammation, hormone health, gut health, relationship with food, the dopamine, etc. I can help you heal the relationship with food and claim body freedom. And all the details are below if you want to go to amberproof.ca, book a consultation, There's an inflammation masterclass I have, so you can check that out. All the details are below. Make sure you subscribe and share this with those that you think would love it, and leave any comments below of future topics that you would like to see. This was great. A pleasure as always, Therese.
Absolutely. And giving everyone their power back. You've got the power to
Yes.
create the change you want.
Exactly. That card keeps coming up. So let's listen. So have a beautiful rest of your day, and we'll see you again next Wednesday. Take care.